My mother was taken in and out of hospital, and it was becoming more and more frequent. So that first month of January and February, we were in and out of hospital quite a lot in 2020. And then come March, which is like 3 years this week, we would have there would have been changes in her home life because she had a hospital bed at home. Her and my dad had to stay at home pretty much. There were carers coming in and out without PPE. It wasn't picked up that she had bladder cancer, and hence one of the reasons why really she should have stayed in hospital, but that's another story. So on the week that she was no longer going to be taken into hospital, we realised that the carers would need to come in more often because my dad was really struggling, and we were told it's not good for us to be in and out because we need to protect her and him as well, obviously. So we decided as a family to step back, which was really difficult, but unfortunately Mum's condition got really quite severe to the point where she was sweating profusely and delirious. So they did take her in, and I remember my dad saying he'd never seen so many people in masks, and he just had to stand back and let them take her. Bearing in mind, my mum and my dad, they'd been married 50 years. And at that point, he kept saying, "I'll see you later." And he believed that he would see her later, but was not allowed to go back into the hospital after that. None of us were. We were ringing every day, every hour to speak with Mum, but she was heavy on oxygen. On Good Friday, we had a phone call from the registrar to say she probably isn't going to make it, and unfortunately we cannot allow you to come to the hospital to say your goodbyes. I got in my car and I drove to the hospital because I knew that she wanted lemonade. I had my mask on, and somehow the porter allowed me to walk through the hospital. The nurse opened the door and she said, "How did you get in? Was you let in or did you break in?" And I said, "I'm here. Please make sure, if you can't let me in, please make sure my mum gets these." And I never forget that woman. So it was Sunday, Easter Sunday. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I have a phone call. And the registrar said, "You and your dad and your sister and brother, we recognise it's always been you 5, and we want you to come to the hospital to say your goodbyes, but nobody else." On that morning, we went to City Hospital, and it was the most beautiful day. We walked into the hospital, and the energy between my sister, my brother, and my dad, I was carried on that day. There were no tears. So we walked upstairs, and my dad was really ill, bless him. And he was sobbing next to my mum. But we were one of the lucky ones. The 12th of April 2020, Easter Sunday. We were one of the lucky families. Right at the very start, we sat with Mum with the curtains closed, and we stayed there for 2 hours with her as she drifted away. Something I remember about my mum was, more than anything else, when we were younger, and she always used to say to me, "I love you completely, but Jesus loves you more." So I felt it was really important that as Mum went, that I whispered it in her ear, back to her, that I loved her, but Jesus loved her more, and she must take his hand now and not be afraid and walk with him. And her skin became radiant pearl, and that was the beauty of knowing that she went, and she is, I feel it completely, that she is at peace. So my husband, who is my life partner. I find it so difficult to call him my husband because I met him at school. We've been together for 35 years now, and he completely took me by the hand, and when we were allowed to go for walks, we went daily, twice daily. But at one point he took me and the kids to, which is round the corner from me, Worley Woods. But we carried on walking, we carried on with all these walks up the hills, round, and I don't know how he got me walking because I felt like I had gained 3, 4, 5 stone. I couldn't walk, couldn't talk, I didn't want to go, I just wanted to sit. I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to drink. And I understand now this is all part of loss and bereavement, but the emptiness, that massive gaping hole inside of you, the stomach, I just couldn't lose that. It was just really pulling me. Calthorpe Park is really special to me, and seeing all the planting of the new trees and the quince and the cherry trees and the apple trees. My mum was like a pin when we were growing up, like really good posture, and everybody knew her walking down the road by her posture. And there is this tree that's really straight. It's got one branch and it's growing beautifully actually. It's a quince tree, and every time I go into the park now I say I can see that you're doing very well and you're flourishing. And we found out later that Balsall Heath was one of the highest hit of deaths, particularly amongst men who lost their lives to COVID. And it's really worrying because that recovery of a community, it is fear. The fears are still there, the worry is still there, and people are only just coming back for activity now, 2 years later. So we've got a long way to go. When we came back in April 21, we were ready to come back as a team. I'd made sure, we'd spent time together as a team on walks, being out in the green spaces. Cannon Hill Park is one of those spaces where we walk together as a team. Calthorpe Park, where we're based in Birmingham, Balsall Heath, just to reconnect.